we need to be pioneers with how we get our clients to be able to sell their products and services in the marketplace. And so for one, we never ever take on a client that we're not 100% believers in their product or service. And so if you don't have that belief and you don't have that identity to go along with it, you know what, your messaging is going to fail.
Season 11 of CX in the Wild is live from across the world. From the buzzing streets of Tokyo to the creative pulse of Sao Paulo, we are on the ground, uncovering CX in its rawest form. This season, we're venturing into uncharted territory, exploring the edges of what's possible. So, let's begin.
All right, welcome everyone back to CX in the Wild. We are here with Peter Guirguis. This is going to be an interesting conversation. It is a last-minute entry into the podcast before I head out. And Peter, I'm excited to talk to you about AI, customer experience. But I also, when I did a little research on you, recognized that you were like-minded in the ways that I think about trying to pioneer and break through, create value for the industry. And it's not always the easiest thing to do. So many times I'm speaking to people who are emerging thought leadership and education from within organizations. They've sort of evolved into these roles. Many times I'm talking to large corporate executives from around the world, and their perspective, while entirely valid and helpful, it's not as pioneering or it's not as scrappy as what I think I imagined you and I do. So it's really an exciting time to get you on the show. You're sort of coming at this from a little bit different part of the audience. So I'm grateful for your presence, and I'd like you to start as I always start with, tell the audience who you are and what's keeping you busy these days.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Thanks so much, Dennis. You know, for me, I am the owner of SurfPress Support, and we are a web design agency where we don't just design websites, but we create sales machines for businesses to help them to increase their revenue and get proven results. And so what's keeping me busy these days is AI, AI, AI. Oh my gosh, that is the word that everybody is really gung-ho on that, and definitely keeping us busy. AI has definitely revolutionized my business, and we have been a pioneer in AI when it comes to web design and using it for our websites, for our clients, and it's been an amazing experience. And I think that just where we're heading and where we're going to be going in this year and beyond, it's going to be very exciting because this is going to be the year of AI agents, and there are going to be some pioneering things in customer experience when it comes to AI this year. So I think definitely we have a lot to look forward to.
All right. So first of all, people are not ready for AI agents. And when people say AI agents, what they think of is chatbots, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the ability for a platform that you use of AI to access other tools and other platforms, and AI is working together. So not just us chatting to a GPT or talking to a bot, but we're talking about the frontier where our tasks, everyone at scale, if they choose to, can be automated and scaled more quickly. It's almost like creating other versions of ourselves to work collaboratively. And I don't think people are ready for that. Number one, I don't think people understand that it's really actually happening. Number two, and number three, I'm not sure that everyone will adopt quickly. And you know, I'm a little bit older. I was here. I remember I literally and figuratively had this conversation at the beginning of the internet where a CEO said to me, hey, I know you're really excited about this internet thing, but it's not our core business and it's going to take us away from what we need. So let's not focus on that. Let's not spend so much time focused on this internet thing. And I just remember thinking to myself, how much more obvious could it be to you that the internet is coming? And AI, it just fascinates me, the moral objections, the fear of job loss, which is not true, not statistically, not from a research perspective, and the mindset barriers that come with all of it is a limiting factor. But you deal with this on a daily basis. You brought up the agents. Let's get into it.
Bring on the agents. Absolutely.
What does that mean for when you're, because I'm going to use the agents, and I'm certain I'm constantly leveraging AI in everything I do. But what I'm interested in is this agent thing is going to be a little bit more difficult and a little more complex. So what is it? What does it mean for the next 3 months for people listening to this show? How do they get in on it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the pioneers are going to be, Claude. If anybody's not familiar with the AI, there's probably the biggest names in AI right now are going to be OpenAI, which is the creator of ChatGPT, and Claude. And so Claude has already released their early version because it's just like you said, Dennis. It's about being pioneers, and there's the first move advantage to whoever is able to make the first move. But here's the thing: in a meaningful way. And Claude tried to do that last year by beating ChatGPT and OpenAI to the market and trying to have the first move advantage. And they released their agent platform, but honestly, it was disappointing. So it was met first with fanfare, but then when people started to use it, then they found out that it has a lot of limitations. So for our audience, when it comes to agents and what they are, is like, imagine that instead of you getting an employee, you're getting an employee that is AI. And basically, you are able to tell the AI to do whatever it is that you want to do. So let's say, for example, currently there are AI agents that are deployable when it comes to customer experience on the phone. So imagine, instead of you going and hiring out like some kind of company to do your call centers, all right, that you now deploy software, AI software, and now you have a chat, customer service person in your business that somebody can either do inbound or outbound calls. So inbound, somebody's calling in, they want to check up on their order, a product, a service that they ordered from you. Hey, instead of talking to an employee, the employee has to go on breaks. Sometimes there could be HR issues. Sometimes there's attitude issues. Whatever kind of issues come with employees and having humans, well, those are eliminated because AI doesn't need to sleep. They can stay awake 24/7. They are workhorses. They don't have feelings or emotions. At least not yet, and we can get into that as well in the future. So all of those things are reasonable considerations. So literally, you're usually 2xing or 3xing the productivity using AI and halving the cost by using the AI instead of humans. And so that is what we have to look forward to, using AI agents instead of some of these human personnel that we've been traditionally used to in the past.
Well, and what I would say is, I would take that one step further and say, these agents aren't going to replace the humans. Humans will be able to run a bunch of agents. And that's where I think we're going to see these efficiencies come. I'm curious, do you use any AI writing tools?
I do.
What's your favorite?
Yeah, I like a whole bunch of different ones. So I have one called Writesonic that I've used in the past. I also use ChatGPT, of course, and with the Canvas features. I use another one called Katib. So there's so many different ones, and you can just keep on adding them, and they have their own programmings and LLMs to make them a little bit more efficient.
You know what? I tried Jasper the other day because it was the Googles said it was like the new hotness. It was terrible. Like I was like, I'm done. Like I, it's hard enough to write any original content with ChatGPT. This thing was horrendous. I'm hunting for a new writing tool. But what do you think about the new NVIDIA announcement where we can put these LLMs and AI on our own desktops?
Yeah, if you got $3,000, sure, why not? So I think there is an advantage about that, getting those little set-top boxes, like little computers. They are going to roll them out for $3,000, so it's going to be pretty. It's not cheap, but it is definitely affordable. But the good news is that you doesn't have to go into the cloud and into the internet to do all of the processing, which saves money. And it saves time. So I think it's going to be interesting. I know a lot of people that have already looking to sign up to be one of the first users and to buy that, because at $3,000, I think it's a steal.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. So here's on the topic of AI, a wider conversation. Sustainability and AI and renewable energy. What I think is people are missing this conversation. And did you know that in 2026, some of the major research firms have done the research that AI queries going into the internet, they take 4 units of electricity more than a Google search. And in 2026, just the AI queries alone will require the same amount of electricity as the country of Japan.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
And it'll grow each year. So you can think that the demand on the world's resources will be the equivalent easily of adding an entire electrical grid for the country of Japan every year for the foreseeable future. So what does that mean to the economy? Electricity, renewable energy, sustainability. Greenwashing isn't going to do it in the next 5 years. You're going to have to actually figure out. I mean, we thought Bitcoin mining took up a lot of power. AI is going to be serious.
Yeah, I think definitely some renewable energy is going to be supreme and going to be really important. I mean, I've already deployed solar at my house, and I've already been benefiting from it. And, we have EV cars, and it's been phenomenal. And I recommend, as many people as possible to take the plunge down that road. And I don't even know if solar is great because, the power from the sun, which is a natural resource, and you can capture that energy. But I'm not sure that it's going to be the end all be all with just where we're heading and where we need to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hard to know. But the sun is probably the most abundant, and if we could harness it, the easiest clean energy we can get. I don't know enough about it. So tell me about, as you're deploying these solutions, you're focused on the web. Is that predominantly where you focus?
Yes, on websites and conversions.
And you build those, are they predominantly built for US based companies?
Yeah, we are a US based company, and most of our clients are US based, but we're also international. So we do have some dealings in some other countries as well. And everyone's basically talking about the same thing, and with the world being a global market, it's like, hey, you know what? You're seeing all the brands are in all the different countries, and hey, there's Gap, Old Navy, Banana Republic everywhere, and there's customer experience needs everywhere, and we're just becoming more connected and more like a one big global family. And so that has both its goods and cons, or pros and cons. On one side, hey, it's nice to be interconnected, but just like any family, there's sometimes some disputes, that you also got to deal with.
Yeah. So there's always those family members with those wild ideas.
That's right.
But that's what inclusivity and diversity really is about. I face the frontier of cultural beliefs and cultural practices just so much in my travels. And I'm one of those people who so fascinated by the beauty and the richness of the thinking and the way that different places in the world have solved different problems that I really am respectful and appreciate the diversity. I don't ever have that mentality of not made here, you know. I'm always like, okay, if this is better. So I'm often trying to find the truth. But I do find that different cultures are more open to other cultures. I find that it's harder for some ideas to be adopted, even if they're better by some groups. And I find that some people have the very best ideas from the most unlikely places. And it's fascinating to me to see this world community open up. And it is going to be a different world in the next 50 years because the networked integration of all of our economies. And if we're being really honest, the advancement of peer-to-peer finances is going to be just an incredible change in mindset from the way our economies are currently managed.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that ultimately one day we're going to be so interconnected that there is going to be no more multiple currencies from these different nations, but just one currency, and you'll be able just to buy and sell, you know, and globally across borders just using one currency. And I think that's where the globe is heading. I don't know how far away we are from there yet. I think it's definitely going to be beyond 2030 in my own predictions. But it's interesting that you brought up also just the different cultures and their openness to different solutions. And I think that sometimes, you know, some cultures and maybe even some people per se are a little bit more, have some more bias and they're not aware of them. They're blind spots. And it's unfortunate, you know, because it's a really a limitation to them being able to make progress and to grow and to be able to, you know, look at solutions that could really change their lives in such an immense way. So I hope that we can get to that place where we can change, and those people would be able to be a little bit more open to different ideas from different places.
It's true. So I'll tell you this. One of the things that I find interesting, not judging anyone, but I watched this meme. I was talking to my children last night about this meme I saw on the internet. And I really respected the meme in its context a lot more. It's not my context, but I watched it and I was like, you know what? I respect this. But I'll tell you what it was. I'm fascinated in the United States by the younger generation's position and mindset on work and value and time. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. It was a meme. It was basically a skit. HR or leadership woman goes into this conference room. She says, hey, everybody, I wanted to remind you of our no phones policy at work. We have confidential information for our clients here. We got to keep the phones out of the work environment. And you agreed to this at being hired. And I'm just asking you to respect the situation and keep your phones out when you're at your desks. And then she says, can Julie, you stay over after this meeting? So they go. And then she says, hey, Julie, I've been trying to reach you by phone, text, email, and you're not reachable sometimes. And in fact, you never respond. And then Julie says, when I'm at home, I operate the same way as you do with your policy. Here, I'm focused on my work 100%. I don't reach my family. I don't check on them. I don't engage with them. I stay and I focus on my work. When I get home, I focus on my family and I don't focus on work. And the leader was saying, how do we fix this? This isn't quite right. And we'd like to be able to reach you sometimes after work. And Julie says, if you want to give me a corporate cell phone and you want to pay me for my time after work, I will be available to midnight because I'm assuming you don't work past midnight. So I will be available to you on the clock, ready to answer your call, do whatever you want for those hours, but I'd like to be paid for my time. You want my time? That's what I sell is my time. I want you to pay me for it. And I just love Gen Z's, like, their ability to just say, all I have is my time. I sell it if you want me to work for you after hours. So I respect it. Now, I could never do that. I'm like, I work all the time. In my generation, we just worked. We paid our dues. We worked for free. We'll do the extra stuff. I mean, me, when I was coming up, if I worked in an ad agency and they told me to go clean the bathroom, I'll clean the bathroom. I have no boundaries. I will do whatever you ask me to do. My kids are like, nope, don't get paid for that. And while I don't understand it, I respect it. Now, that's like generation to generation. Okay, if you guys want to roll that way, I respect that you want to hold the line on your value. Does it work? I don't know. But then I look at the worldview and I try to explain to my children that whole narrative sounds really good in some context, and it might be really entertaining on the internet, but there are people all over the world who are hungry and they can do your job now, and they're going to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they don't care that you have your personal boundaries. So just whatever you got to do with that, like, take it for what it is. Me, Peter, I still work 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm trying to survive here. So I have like a mixed mentality. But the reason I bring that up is I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to, I think they look at themselves more than they look at the context of the rest of the world now.
Yeah. Let me ask you something, Dennis, on that. Do you love what you do?
Yes.
See, how did I know to ask that question? It's because for you, working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, it's like time flies.
It
and
does.
when you love what you do, work and play, they're fused.
You know what? You're exactly right. People ask me, how do I do it? And I'm like, honestly, it's because I don't do anything I don't want to do. I get up every day and I live my best life. I focus on doing what I love. And fortunately, I have a large team that makes this possible. But you're right. It's more about doing what you love in life and adding value.
Yeah, and I can tell you one thing too, because I have an obstacle or a challenge with my kids, and that is, my kids are kind of children of privilege, and I'm trying to think, well, what am I going to do with this? Because, like, by the grace of God, we have a nice home, we have cars every day, we go to wherever we need to go and we get there safely, no problems or issues. My kids don't know what it's like, to have adversity in their lives, not sure where money's going to come from to put food on the table, or to not have access to health care, that's available to everybody. And so they just come and it's like, hey, this is what's expected, right? As opposed to you and I, Dennis, and I've had the privilege of just knowing you for this podcast, and it's been incredible. But I can tell you for a fact that you've had adversity in your life. And there were obstacles that you had to overcome. I know that for a fact, just because of the pure words that are coming out of your mouth. And so, what are you going to do?
Yeah, you and I can tell we're on the same level. My son just graduated from college in this past December. I'm taking him on Wednesday to New York to move him into New York so he can chase his dream jobs, because I want him to leverage his privilege. But I will tell you, Peter, my son is the first man in our family's generations, all the generations. He's the first one to graduate from college.
Oh, wow.
He was the first one to go to and graduate. So not me, not my dad, not my grandfather. So I'm third generation here. So it took us to the fourth generation to get one through college, and he went. So yeah, I was I grew up in post-World War II United States in a Japanese family, and people did not like us very much. And we did not have a lot of money. And so we faced the racial adversity, the economic diversity. And yeah, I started working 20 hours a day to survive from day one, and I'm still doing it. But the net is our son, like you mentioned, has privilege, and he graduated with a 3.9, and he's like, no, was like 3.95. He was like, I almost had summa cum laude, but I'm like, you're good. But you're right. It is the adversity, and what are we going to do with it? You know, my son, what I will say, I'm sure your children, because if you're faced adversity, the one thing we did instill in our children is a work ethic. So while my son doesn't want to work for time that he's not being paid, if he says he's going to do it, he's going to get it done right. You know, he's not cutting corners.
Yeah, I love that you've instilled those values in him. And, you know, I just don't know what's going to happen with the world. I mean, even with AI and just the improvement of lifestyles across the board, you know, there is something to be said that, hey, you know what, adversity can shape who you are if you allow it to do it in a positive way. You know, and look what's happened to you and all the success that you are enjoying now because you've allowed adversity to shape who you are. And, you know, one of my favorite mentors, John Maxwell, #1 leadership coach in the world, you know, he says, hey, put your hand like this. That's how everybody does it. He says, hey, everything upworthy is always uphill.
Yeah.
He's like, you always have to go uphill. And anything that's worthwhile is always going to be up the hill. And so you got to get used to that.
It's true. I just choose the hard way. Like, I'm like, if it's going to be one way or another, if you go the easy way, it ends up being the hard way. I'll just start taking the slow boat.
You might as well.
Tell me a little bit more about your philosophies, adversity, customer experience. You obviously are running a business. You're pioneering in this space. And when I say pioneering, I think what I'm really reaching to is overcoming that adversity. And adversity in growing a business. Entrepreneurialism is not for the faint of heart. And growing a business is not easy. And in customer experience, it's also, while it is the right area of business, it's also niche. So tell me about your business. What have been some of your major successes in the last, recent times, and where are you headed?
Yeah, you know, when it comes to in our business, where we're heading with customer experience, it's just like, hey, how can we help our clients with connecting with their products and services inside the marketplace? And there really is a need for pioneering, because one of the services that we offer along with our web design is advertising and sales. And so the way that people buy is completely different now. Think about the Kardashians and how, they have these brands that are like, $500 million makeup brands and, these things. And why? Because they're influencers. And so when you think about the customer experience and how people are going about buying things today, it's like people care about, hey, is your product or service, is it green? Are they environmentally friendly? Before, back in my day, in your day, it's like, who cares about that, Now, Gen Z cares about that. Like, hey, how much emissions are you releasing into the environment, producing whatever it is that you're doing? And then they care about new things. And so we're finding that we need to be pioneers with how we get our clients to be able to sell their products and services in the marketplace. And so for one, we never ever take on a client that we're not 100% believers in their product or service, because we have to be in it with all of our hearts and our minds and our souls to really be able to convince the other person that, hey, this product or service is really what's in the best place for you. So it becomes a matter of identity and beliefs. And so if you don't have that belief and you don't have that identity to go along with it, you know what, your messaging is going to fail.
you're so right. We share that. I can't, there's not enough money in the world to get me to do or work with someone that I can't like believe in. Like, I just can't. It's too hard. And I don't know if that's because I'm also in this influence economy, but I think part of the reason the Kardashians and others like them, why influencers are successful, is because there became a point in our awareness of capitalism that we just would rather trust a human than a soulless entity. And so we're just like, I don't know. Kim likes it, but I don't even, this is like a building with some letters on it. And I guess I'll go with, because they're both telling me it's good, but because I don't think as consumers, we always know when we're first shopping what, the fact of the matter is we don't ever know. Like, there's no way to really know what the best hamburger is or the best cosmetics are. There's personal preference. There's like your own contextual beliefs. There's the quality that you expect, the value. So best means something different for everyone. So having a person that you can sort of trust or get to know is really helpful in the buying process.
Yeah, and isn't that interesting too, Dennis? Like, I think we're amongst the same generation, and if you think like our generation, we saw like the rise of the companies, right? The rise of big companies, but now what do you see? You see the rise of personal brands, like the influencers, the Kim Kardashians, and now even I'm seeing in our world the YouTube algorithm on YouTube is now favoring the small guys with the small little channels and no more the big ones. And so if you have people that only have 50 subscribers, 100 subscribers, 200 subscribers, now YouTube is favoring them and showing their videos to brand new people who have never received that exposure. And because it's the rise of the personal brand, and it all comes because of a problem. And the problem is lack of trust. And it's like, hey, there's a big, huge trust problem. We can't trust big companies. They've stabbed us in the back. They've hurt us. They've done all these things. Well, hopefully personal people, the smaller people will be trustworthy. And this is the area where it's very interesting that trust is a currency and how you spend it really makes a difference.
So I want to just unpack part of what you said as a value statement to the audiences. Trust is in a corporation, maybe I don't believe in what the business has done. And maybe they haven't done anything wrong. But the fact of the matter is me as an aware human, I have an instinct that a human may relate to me better than a logo or a building or paperwork or institution. I think that some of it is just the trust of what's strange or unknown or unimaginable versus a human. Sometimes it's like the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. But the fact of the matter is as we become more interconnected with people, globally aware, our consciousness, I think, is evolving, and it doesn't really recognize a logo as something we can connect with emotionally. But people, I mean, you see these celebrities, and I always watch because they go up and they go down. They're like hot, and then the haters, and then they're hot, and if they can overcome it, the haters. And on YouTube, I'm fascinated by the downfall, and then the hero's journey, the redemption arcs that happen, and how much people support other people when they're down. I don't think we hear enough about that, but the truth is we hear about the scandals, but people on YouTube, as an example, are great at saying, hey, Peter, I saw that you're taking a lot of hate. Do you want to like respond to this? And then if Peter, if you respond, you're like, hey, I hear you guys. Here was my perspective. I'm open to the conversation. Let's have it. Then people are like, okay, Peter's still real. He's not a logo yet. He can stay in the game, you know?
Yes.
It's just an interesting world we live in, the experiences.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's really important that, like, people really care about sincerity and being genuine, and no more putting like this Instagram life on there, like, oh, you're going on vacation and there's like, here's my best life. And I'm like, you're going to eat all these like, amazing things and all this stuff. It's like, man, people really value being real. And that is, instead of like, talking just about your successes, how about talking about your failures? How did you mess up? What did you do wrong? And what did you learn from it? I think being authentic and sharing your past mistakes and your failures go a lot further than your successes and it's the glam life.
On that trend, have you heard recently about the new generation killing the LinkedIn business persona?
No, what happened? Tell me.
Okay. So it turns out in my generation, your generation, and many others, all of them before us, but also even whatever generation came after us, we separated our home life and our personal life. So like I remember being in hourly jobs and, just when I was younger, and people would say, what you do at home doesn't have anything to do with what happens here. What you do in your personal time is your personal time. Well, there was this on LinkedIn. It's like Instagram. People present their best business self, and it's sort of fantasy. And then now, some of the younger employees like, you know what? I don't care. This is who I am. I'll put my family stuff on LinkedIn. If you want to get to know me, this is the real me. And so there are people now who are just trying to be more authentic on LinkedIn, and it's much more casual. And like, they're like, these are the real people on LinkedIn. And here are all like everybody else from the last generation is pretty much just like fake, like on Instagram. And I just think that this is an interesting culture perspective. But my children, I'm guilty of it. They grew up with a camera in their face. I can go through Facebook and see their whole life in chronological order, and I love it. And they do too. But they didn't have the advantage of me and you, where you're like, no one talk about last Saturday. It's gone. I didn't do that. So and the fact is, like they have that thing, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Not in the last 15 or 20, not since the smartphone, it doesn't stay in Vegas. Yes. So the culture is changing. The world is rapidly becoming more tuned to authenticity, trust. And so you're working in these areas. What do you have on the horizon for 2025?
Yeah, I think I'm really looking forward just to seeing how can we build more trust. I think there's a lack of trust in the marketplace, and how can we overcome that? And that's the area of being pioneers in this area. Because if I just go mimic something else that somebody else does, or a campaign or whatever, or a connection or whatever it is, then there's really sometimes a lack of authenticity behind it, and it doesn't do anything to overcome the trust barriers that we are experiencing. And you're seeing more and more exposure, Dennis, in the news about certain people, certain brands. I don't want to mention any names or anything, but there's scandal all over the place in different areas, whether it be politics, show business, you name it. Big pharma, and all these people. It's causing us to be like, hey, now can I really trust this person? Can I really trust this company? Can I do this? So it's like, well, okay, so they messed up. But now the small business is paying for the mess ups of the big business. So we as small businesses and small business owners have to find a way to be innovative and to be ahead of the pack. Like, hey, we understand that you have reason to not trust, this pharmaceutical company or this person that did this. And we have a product or a service that might compete with them. but here's how we're different, and here's why we're not them, and here's how you can trust us, and we're going to show you, and we're going to take on the risk ourselves, instead of you putting the risk on you, and we're going to show you the difference.
You just hit on a really salient point there, which is brands that take the risk with you are trustworthy. Companies that will take the risk with you. And I find that funny that you bring that up, because I've been wondering why our team has had some success, but we're really in it with you. Like, if it's not working, we'll take the L with you. This isn't about, we're trying to like win on a common objective that we all agree to. This isn't about us providing a service.
Yeah, that's it. I love that you said that, you're willing to take the L with them. And, that's so rare, Dennis. And I love that about you and about your brand and what you represent. And I hope that more people will look at it as more like, hey, you're in this with your customers, with your clients, with you, and, I like to say that you cannot separate failure from success.
No.
The two are intertwined. Think about all the adversity that you've had to do. It's out of the adversity, out of the failures that have brought in the successes. And a lot of times I think the new generation still is like, hey, let's never fail. Let's never make the mistake. Let's do everything in place so that, things can be perfect and hunky-dory and not experience failure, but it's just not possible. And I think once they learn that quicker, they'll be able to experience success a lot faster and greater.
If these young people would just look at their camera roll and see how many bad pictures they have before they got that one they posted, they would understand this concept. I'll tell you about taking the L. I obviously sell influence. Not gonna lie. People come to me all the time and say, can I get to your audience? Can you help me be successful with your audience? And I do what you say. I say, well, maybe if I believe in what you're doing and I trust you and I don't think you're going to be ingenuine or harm anyone in my audience, I have a duty to protect the audience before anything else. So I do that. But then sometimes I believe in something, and no matter how many times I tell the audience about it, they don't care. And so I had a client who I did this for about 6 months for them, and at the end of 6 months, no traction, no value benefit to their organization. And I see the metrics. I know what the return on investment is, and so I just went to them and I said, and I just did this. I said, in December, I'm not taking another penny from you. Like this, the metrics aren't, whatever I'm saying or whatever you're saying isn't, like, it's not working. So we're going to end this relationship right now because it's not valuable to you. And the new relationship is, I'll stay in it with you, but I need to talk to my audience and I need to figure out where my disconnect is, and I don't want you to pay for that. I will continue to talk to the audience about why I think this is valuable. I will try to understand why they're not receptive, and eventually we will get you connected to the right people in the audience, but I can't take any more investment from you if I don't know what's happening. And so now I'm in the middle of 2 months of working with my audience to try to solve this. But I love the adversity and I want to know what's wrong and I want to take responsibility for it. And if you're not working with people like that, it sounds like you're the same way. You're working with the wrong people these days.
Yeah. And I love that story that you are the one who took the initiative. You're the one who reached out, Yeah. And think about what it meant for that relationship with that client, that you took the initiative and you said, hey, I realize you beat them to the punch, which was probably going to come down a few months down the road, but you saw the early signs.
Yeah.
You were the pioneer in that area. And now, because of that, you have more equity in the relationship. And I like to think of it like a bank trust. And the amount of currency that's in the bank between you and other people is how much trust dollars do you have in there. And so when people backstab each other, they hurt each other, they make bad decisions, they do that, they're making withdrawals, right, from
Yeah.
their trust bank account from the other person. But when they go and they beat them to the punch and they say, hey, this isn't working, hey, we've messed up, or this is a problem area, this is a thing, a possible challenge that we foresee, and you name it, and even though it's a difficult conversation to have, but you're putting more trust dollars in that bank account with that relationship. And I think that is going to be the currency that will open up doors in multiple success areas.
Peter, I see you to cut you off, but let's be real. The conversation's coming. Like, the truth is what it is. We're either performing or we're not. Like, one of us or both of us has to be on top of it. And I thought it was working until I realized it wasn't. And it's my job to be the first one to say, this isn't working. We have to change directions. And so the truth comes out. It's better to just confront it head on,
There's one thing, Dennis, that I wanna point out here, though, is that you said, hey, we're not going to take any more investment dollars from you.
Yeah.
This is maybe a big client. Let's say they're paying you, I don't know, whatever it is, $10K a month or whatever. If you had kept your mouth shut and they wouldn't have had that conversation until 2 or 3 months, you could have been 20, 30K richer. But you decided not to do it. It wasn't worth it in your bank account.
Well,
not a lot of people have that kind of mentality.
Well, let's be real. It's fraud. Like, if you're taking money from people for influence or to drive success for them, and you know it's not working, I don't know how some people sleep with themselves. I don't know how they live with that. I no. Anyway, I'm wired. I mean, you get it. So let's talk about, like, where is your home office, your corporate headquarters?
Los Angeles.
Oh, and wow. I was going to say, when am I going to be in California? I'd love to hang
Come
out
over,
with you.
man. Come on.
I'm going to be in California on the 10th, but I'm going to be up in Silicon Valley doing a documentary there. But maybe March, April. I can't fit it in. I was going to say, maybe I just swing down and stop for a day or two and learn more about what you're doing. Do you, you're in Los Angeles. What is the, because all of us have a different size company or a different sweet spot. What's your sweet spot for working with brands to help them evolve into their next phase? Because what I do hear, we sort of didn't touch enough on it, is I can tell that you have this new approach to customer experience, but also sales and marketing that is a hybrid, one of these newer versions of sales and marketing together as a service and platform delivery for companies. So is that accurate?
Yes, that is exactly accurate. And the way that we do it, and our pioneers, or the way that we do it, our pioneers is different. Is that, well, there's tons of marketing agencies. They'll be like, hey, we'll sell your product or service, and they make these big promises and they don't deliver. We do something different. We say, hey, let's build you a website. Let's build you a website that brings you more sales. And then after we've built it, because we've built it and because we're the engineers behind it, we're like, hey, we think that we know how to get this thing that we've just built for you and take it to another level and to bring you in the sales that you need for your customers. And the thing is that for us, it's never a sales approach because we're believers in the products and services in the first place. So that's why we feel like, hey, you know what? It's not really sales. It's a matter of connecting people with helpful solutions that probably change their lives forever. And I love that. And that's what causes me to be able to work like you, 20-hour days, 18-hour days. It's not work, it's play. This is what I do for fun all day, you know?
We should do a collab because I do think we're doing the exact same thing. That's what I do. But I'll start anywhere. Whatever part of the they want to work on, I'll start there. And then I'm like, is this successful or not? And then what can we do next that you feel comfortable with? And if you don't want to do anything, I'm good. But I just try to be available to connect people to audiences, and that's really it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the best things you can do, Dennis. I feel like is be a relationship connector, because we are wired for relationships, and relationships are really what makes a difference and makes and breaks stuff. So I would say that's probably one of the best things you can do.
All right, so let's talk about core services. Here's my innovative take on things, just to give you, because I think we're in the same evolution or the same journey. So here's what I'm doing is all the basics. You know, people have to start somewhere, or they have something they want to fix. But the new innovative thing that I've done is I opened an office in Africa, South Africa, customer care center, okay? And this is not my philanthropic sort of, I have some other community sort of heart projects I'm doing there, but this is actually a benefit to the world, which is what I took was a customer care team of 7 agents who answer the phone, who solve problems for people. And I took them out of that role and I put them into community management roles. And I built AI large language model for our clients so that the agents can ask the AI, hey, what's the answer to this? What is the part configuration for this? So I skipped the whole hype. I just was like, here's our client. Here's everything you need to know about them. 250 pages of manuals, products, everything. So our agents now, instead of answering the phone, they use social listening tools to go out to the internet and see where all the questions are and just proactively customer care any asynchronous conversation they can find in the internet. And while I was at it, I just listened to all the competitors' conversations too and jump in there if there's answers. So now I have outbound customer care, proactive audience care, community management. And that is like a way for me to do just what we're saying is deliver on the value of connecting your brand to the people that matter. I'm not saying let's shout your name from some like distributed ad platform for impressions. I'm just saying just spend the money to engage with people who are already talking about you on a daily basis.
Let me ask you this, Dennis. And what has been the result for that company or that client of yours that you did that for their ROI? If you can talk about that, the results.
What I can tell you about ROI is I don't have visibility into revenue, so I don't have an ROI number, but I do have the social listening metrics. So what I can tell you is in the last 6 months that we've been working this angle, they have moved from 4th place to 1st place in share of voice on the internet. But in the that was our first efforts. Then we added the community managers, which have been running since the beginning of December. But since December, they've taken over. They have the highest sentiment now of all the competitors. And they've answered more questions on Reddit than any of the other competitors.
Yeah, and see, I want to make the case that the ROI in this case is the sentiment and them going from 4th to number 1. So you have different ways. It doesn't have to be the ROI have to be revenue, but in terms of customer experience, satisfaction, how likely are you to recommend a brand to somebody else? Is probably one of the big questions that we try to answer. And so this experiment that you did, and I want to call it an experiment because you're a pioneer, and when you're a pioneering and nobody else is doing it, you're the one that has to take shots and get the darts and the arrows in your back. So that's what's happened. But over here you see the payoff. So anybody in the audience that thinks that this might be a good idea for their business, I highly recommend that you would get in touch with Dennis.
Yeah, well, thank you. And about the pioneering, the hardest part about it was uploading all of the laws and regulations from the FTC about endorsements and disclosure and making sure that what our activity was compliant. Because in August, the FTC really set new boundaries for influence and communication to consumers. So that was the hardest part. But yes, so that's what we're doing. Tell me about some of your innovative things.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of my favorite things that we're doing right now is that we're working with the owner of a school, and she caters to autistic kids. And so here you have these parents that really, their concern and their pain is that, hey, my kid, when they go to school, they might be bullied because they're different. Hey, there's no custom path for my kid because, their teachers aren't trained in knowing how to deal with kids who are autistic, who are on the spectrum. And so, this client came to us and approached and says, hey, can you help us out? We really feel that we're underserved in our market, and we want to help families change their lives and their kids' lives and their futures. And we want to give them a future and a hope. And we looked at them and we said, absolutely, we would love to help. So we took them on with clients, and we began to connect with parents of autistic kids. And instead of coming to them from a sales perspective or telling them, hey, go change your kids at school, whatever, we began to educate them and began to help them. And we began to get on phone calls with them just to help them with their children and to solve problems that they were having with their kids right now. Because, kids who have autism, they can be very emotional, and sometimes they don't know why, and they can't vocalize it either. So we were giving them, the clients years of experience of understanding their autistic kids and kids on the spectrum, and to help them out. And we were doing this with them, helping them out, no strings attached, telling them, hey, you don't have to sign up for our school. You don't have to change your school's kids or anything. But organically, it began to pay off, and people were like, man, thank you for helping us. When's your open enrollment? When's the next time that you guys are available? And just like that, people began to sign up.
Value first. I mean, give the audience value. Give before you get is a great lesson there. Well, Peter, I feel like we could talk forever. It's been a great conversation with you. I definitely want to connect with you outside of this podcast, see how we can collaborate. There is some fun stuff happening in Vegas, April 16th and 17th. There's at the convention center. There's a call and contact community show there that's happening, and maybe we can meet there or something. Some of my team will be there. You can bring some of your team. I don't know, but thank you so much. Do you have any last words you'd like to say to the audience? Words of wisdom as we head into 2025?
Words of wisdom. For me, I've always found, that success can be made if you're just success can be made if you persevere and pivot. And I feel like, hey, you know what? I've been somebody who's, kind of like you, Dennis, who's experienced, some adversities and, experienced some obstacles. But I found that after I got over the first hump and the initial hurt and, all of that, wanting to give up on everything, just going and not giving up and being willing to take a different perspective, take a different approach, that has made all the difference. And success was just a few steps away. So anybody that is going through it, you're having a hard time, you experienced a failure, hey, you know what? Every single failure is a stepping stone for success. So don't give up, keep trying. And I believe that you're going to make it. I believe in you.
Wise words, Peter. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Oh, my pleasure, Dennis. Thanks for having me.
CX is shaped where people live, work, and connect. Thank you for being a part of this journey. There's more to discover, more to challenge, and more to create. So stay curious, and we'll see you out there.